If you're traveling to Japan by air, then there's a very good chance you'll be landing on water. And that's because Japan has several airports built entirely or partly on water, and is also a world leader in this space. In fact, the Kansai International Airport in Osaka, Japan, was the world's first airport built entirely on water and was constructed between 1987 and 1994. But Japan is not the only Asian country doing this. The international airports in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Macau are all built on reclaimed land or artificial islands. Meanwhile, in South Korea, the Incheon International Airport is built on reclaimed land and is also one of the largest airports in the world. And then there's Qatar, where the Hamad International Airport in Doha is also partially built on reclaimed land which, used to be water. So pretty obvious question to ask here. Why do Asian countries build airports on water? It turns out there are three main reasons: geography, strategy, and as always, good old economics. So let's start with geography. Now, it turns out the one thing major Asian cities have in common is actually something they don't have enough of, and that thing is land. Or more accurately, land that's ideal for building airports. Because cities like Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Seoul are located in mountainous or coastal areas, finding large pieces of land for large airports is a pretty difficult thing to do. Now, the flip side of this is that these cities are also incredibly densely populated. Take Tokyo for example. It's the largest city in the world with 39 million people. And then there's Seoul, which is literally so overpopulated that the South Korean government has built a brand new capital city. And all of this goes back to the point of land for airports being a scarce resource in this context. The next factor is strategy. One of the ways countries try to outdo each other is to prove that they can do things differently or even better. And building an airport on water, demonstrating incredible engineering excellence, does exactly that. Building an airport on water showcases state-of-the-art technology and architecture, and is basically a strategic soft power move to tell other countries, we can do this and you can't. Now, in the case of Japan, it actually goes beyond this, because here, building an airport on water is a strategic move to defend against natural disasters like earthquakes, which, as you know, happens a lot in Japan, and as you know, poses a risk to structures built on land. And then finally, there's good old economics. The bottom line here is that air travel is hugely important to the economies of these countries, and building airports on water allows them to host their airports in constrained spaces and cities. But more importantly, it also allows them to expand these airports in the future, ensuring that they can avoid problems such as overcongestion of their airports and literally keep air travel flying high. And then there's also the point as well that these cities are huge tourism attractions, which means that their airports are usually very busy. Now, to understand how important this is, consider this. Asia Pacific is the largest air travel market globally. It is so large, it supports nearly 50 million jobs and accounts for nearly $1 trillion in terms of GDP. And that's trillion with a T. So now to the big question. What are the downsides of building airports on water? Well, the first is constructing airports on water and artificial islands is as expensive as it sounds. And that's because, as you can imagine, it's incredibly complex and requires specialized engineering. For example, building the Kansai International Airport has cost Japan around $20 billion due to construction and continued maintenance. And then there's the risk of sinking. I mean, literally sinking. The truth is, airports built on water and artificial islands face the risk of sinking because, obviously, they're built on water. Again, take the example of the Kansai International Airport, which has now sunk by about 38 feet since it was first opened in 1994. And given the modern-day risk of rising sea levels, the threat or possibility of sinking looms larger every year for these airports and forces countries to spend even more money on protective features for them. So to recap, if you're ever flying into Asia, be sure to double-check if it's an airport built on water. And if it is, it was probably incredibly expensive to build and even more expensive to maintain. And there's a good chance it just might be sinking. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, then do give the video a thumbs up because that really helps the channel. And of course, watch this video next.